finding hidden treasures, traveling to Tampa Bay's diverse communities and neighborhoods, discovering the sights, sounds, and taste of the region, experiencing history and culture. I'm your host, Serena Fazan, and we are Unlocking Tampa Bay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Unlocking Tampa Bay. I'm your host, Serena Fazan. We have such a great show ahead of us, and joining me is the president and CEO of Visit Tampa Bay, Santiago Carrata. Santiago, so great to see you.
Great to be back. Serena's sidekick.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Serena's sidekick on the Unlocking Tampa Bay show. Sidecar.
Okay. All right, that's an honor. But listen, so what's going on? Gee, another Stanley Cup championship? I mean, how amazing is Tampa?
Yeah. You know, what the Lightning and Mr. Vinnick and that team have done for our community is just remarkable. You know, back-to-back Stanley Cups, the turnout at the boat parade, spectacular. The buzz around the Tampa Bay Buccaneers repeating as Super Bowl champs, obviously off of last year's success. The Rowdies doing well. The Rays, World Series appearance last year. Now they're right in the mix again to get back to the World Series. So just, you know, phenomenal exposure through our sports team. And people are starting to take notice. There was a huge ranking released recently. Tampa, #1 city in Florida, number 22 in the entire United States. And we're not going to rest there. We think we're a top 10 city, so we're going to keep fighting to move up in the rankings. That's the highest we've been ranked in since the rankings have been released. But we want to move into the top 10 because we believe we're a top 10 city in the U.S. So all good, all eyes on Tampa. Really, Hillsborough County, phenomenal, doing great.
You know, Santiago, it's so amazing because not only is Tampa really recovering from the pandemic, but emerging, as you just mentioned, stronger and better than ever before. I mean, when you and I sat down last month to talk, we talked about how tourism numbers also broke records.
Right. April had beaten April 2019, which was a record April of all time. So this April beat that April, and now we have numbers from May. We brought in $60 million in hotel taxable revenue. That's the most ever. So May beat a record May from 2019 by 11%. June is already $6 million above June 2019. Wow. So it's not that we've recovered. We're back on record-setting pace, and it's phenomenal. You know, the destination has so much to offer. You know, we've talked about sports, and in this show, you're going out and looking at other attractions. So super exciting destination to not only visit, but come and live and become our neighbor.
And you know, I'm so happy you mentioned sports again, because as you and I have discussed numerous times, sports galvanizes a community, right?
That's
so
right.
we are, you know, people are watching. We have tens of millions of people watching the Bucks, the Rays, clearly the Bolts. But they're also getting 3 hours of commercials of seeing our beautiful sunset, the main the main downtown, the waterfronts, right? But
those beauty shots, you know,
yes.
And Tampa Bay mentioned, like you said, about 3-4 hours during the broadcast, and that resonates with people. They're watching and they're seeing the Riverwalk, or they're seeing these beautiful shots of downtown Tampa or other parts of Tampa, you know, our attractions, our museums, and they're saying, wow, you know, what a great place. Maybe I ought to go visit, and winning is contagious. So again, the exposure we're getting is unprecedented and really invaluable. You really can't put a price on all of that media exposure.
And you know, they're saying just parts of Tampa, but as you and I both know, Hillsborough County is massive. So for this episode, it's really fun.
So exciting,
yes,
really exciting.
It is
because you know,
super.
people are familiar with
Right.
the downtown area and with Busch Gardens, but when you really get out there and explore all that Hillsborough County has to offer, that makes for a great show.
Well, we are taking you to a variety of places on this episode, from Oldsmar to Odessa, including zip lining. So we're going to talk to Calvin Joustra with...
I've done it.
Oh, you have?
It's phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
I've done it. Oh yeah, zip lining, yeah.
Okay, let's try to include some pictures of you if we can.
Screaming? Crying? No, let's not.
Here we are at Empower Adventures Tampa Bay, the area's largest zipline and adventure park in the Bay Area, located on the cusp of Hillsborough County. I mean, what a great place to bring your family and challenge yourself a little bit. Here is Calvin Joustra. You're the operations manager here at Empower. Calvin, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming out.
Okay, Calvin, seriously, talk about gaining a new view of Tampa Bay. 3,000 feet from ziplining, right? And all these obstacle courses. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so our course is comprised of 5 different zip lines. We got 4 adventure obstacles and then the 200-foot suspension bridge right behind us here. You get to do all of that as part of our zip line adventure out here. Our tallest tower is about 65 feet up in the air. So being right at the top of the bay here in Oldsmar will give us an amazing view of the entire Bay Area. We can see all the way down to downtown Tampa from our towers up here. So you get a beautiful view of the entire Bay Area.
That is so awesome. Now, the courses and team building, talk to me about that. What are courses and what is team building?
Yeah, so for our regular recreational guests, we have what we call the zipline adventure. They're going through our course. There's 5 different zip lines, like I mentioned, and as you mentioned, about 3,000 total feet after you go across all 5 of them. We got 4 adventure obstacles, which are American Ninja Warrior flavor. I guess definitely not that extreme, but you're kind of walking across different bridges and cable crosses, kind of testing your balance a little bit, as well as kind of that mental fortitude of kind of coaching yourself through that. And then you get to go across the bridge behind us, like I mentioned. With the team building, some groups come and do stuff up on the course. We do a lot on the ground with them as well to work on trust, teamwork, communication, like being collaborative and problem solving, all that kind of stuff. And we get to do it in a really fun environment, which is really cool.
Well, let me ask you this. We talked about what a great place to bring your entire family. What ages would you say? I mean, how little can you be, and probably any age, right?
Yeah, so 7 years old is our minimum age. We also like them to be right around 70 pounds just so they have enough momentum to get from one side to the other on the zip line and just not get stuck in the middle. The oldest person we've had so far was a 96-year-old gentleman who came out here. He did pretty much everything out here. It was a really, really fun experience.
So, I love seeing that. I love seeing that. So talk to me about the zip lines, though, because I can imagine, zip lining is so popular throughout the U.S., but I can imagine some people, like maybe me, could be a bit nervous getting up there. So how do you calm nerves, and what do you do?
Yeah, so we do fully guided tours, and I think that helps us a lot with those people that are a little bit more nervous. The guides are right there with you. They take care of moving your gear around, slowing you down and stopping you, all of that kind of stuff. So that's less stuff you have to worry about. The guides do a great job of, if you need to be calmed down, they can calm you down. If you need to be hyped up, they're gonna hype you up. But we help you find that 2 seconds of courage to take that step off the platform. We believe at Empower, if you can overcome challenge on our zipline course, you can overcome challenge anywhere else in your life. It takes 2 seconds of courage to take the step off the platform. It takes 2 seconds of courage anywhere else in your life to do something that you might think is a little bit too difficult. But if you do it here, it's super fun.
It's so well said, Calvin, and you're so passionate about this because you are the operations manager here, but you've been here since 2016.
Yes.
And you purposefully came to Florida so you can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my kind of outdoor adventure career up in Michigan when I was working in college, worked at a summer camp doing this kind of stuff. Then when I graduated, I moved to Minnesota to work at a zipline course there. Kind of long off seasons with the snow up there, so I was looking for something that was a little bit more year-round. That's how I ended up down here. We get to zip line year-round down here, and it is absolutely beautiful.
Well, Empower Adventures is certainly lucky to have you, and the people who come here are fortunate to have staff members like yourself. So when people do come, what can they expect? Are there a variety of different tours that you can book?
With the course, we have a couple different things you can do. Our main one, like I mentioned, is that zipline adventure. We also have sunset zipline adventures out here where we time it so that you're actually taking in the sunset while you're up on the course, zipping through. So you can't beat a Florida sunset, and you can't beat a Florida sunset while you're ziplining. So, and then coming back in October, we have our moonlight tours where we actually come out here and we zipline in the dark.
Well, Calvin, what a pleasure it's been to talk to you. Calvin Joustra with Empower Adventures. We are now at beautiful old McMickey's farm that originally opened in 1991 and located on the grounds of Camp Keystone. Here's the owner, Ralph Zuckerman. Ralph, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for coming out. This is awesome.
Oh my gosh, so what is awesome as well is you have brought traditional farm life into Tampa. Tell us about the farm.
Well, we're a children's educational farm with a great history. The farm is located on the grounds of Camp Keystone, which was established, I believe, in 1946. So there's just a 7-decade-plus tradition of the camp and the farm in the Tampa Bay community.
So Ralph, what inspired you to open up the farm in the first place?
Well, I'm a home builder by trade, and I actually bought the property to develop. But when I found out the history of the camp and the farm, I decided this was my chance to do something for kids and families that I've always wanted to do. So I didn't develop it, and I rebuilt and reopened the farm.
Well, you give families so many great experiences here, especially with the animals. Now you have chickens, goats, you can even milk a cow. Tell us about some of the things you can do with the animals here.
Sure. It's all farm animal based, and we're all education based too. We're not a petting zoo, we're an educational farm. So all the tours are guided, and they take the kids to all the stations, and they get to milk a cow, catch chickens, pet goats, pigs, donkeys, ride a pony. So, and it's all interactive. They get to interact with the animals, and there's an education component to teach the children about the animals and farm life at each station.
Well, Old McMickey's offers so much here, because it's not just the animals. This is also a great venue for weddings, for conventions. Tell us the inspiring stories, so many things that you have done for the community, which kind of launched this whole thing.
Well, half the reason I started the farm was to give back to the community. Just briefly, in every area that we offer a service to the community, I committed to giving back in that area. So when we started Farm Tours, we started our 1,000 Kids program. And every year we bring 1,000 kids who face serious mental, emotional, and physical challenges out to the farm for
Wow.
free. And I think to date, we've brought about 6,000 or 7,000 kids.
Wow.
We subsidize Title I and Renaissance school children. We've maybe brought 28 or 30,000 kids from those schools out. And when we started weddings, we wanted to give back, so we created Mission I Do, which is free weddings for the military, and it's amazing. It's changed my life. It's an all-inclusive wedding. It's really a $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 wedding, depending on what we do for the wedding, but everything's included. And to date, we've done about 9 of them, and we've got another one coming up in January.
That's so amazing what you do, honestly, Ralph. And not only do you do that for the military, but anyone getting married or holding a convention, though, can have their event here, right?
We are a beautiful venue for lakefront weddings. We've got 2 gorgeous venues to choose from, 20 acres on a gorgeous private lake, and an amazing wedding team that I work here with. The girls are just amazing in making sure that the weddings come out just as how the bride envisions it. And it's our passion out here. We do a lot of weddings, and we also do corporate events, company picnics.
And you can host as many as 2,000 to 3,000 people here, right?
If they came in buses, we probably have parking for about 1,000 to 1,500. But if they came as a group, we could hold more. It's a beautiful property.
And you also, as you've proven, believe in giving back to the community, and you do this also through these venue programs. Like, you use local businesses. Can you talk about that as well, Ralph?
Sure. So when we're doing weddings or corporate events, we supply the venue, the staff, the organization, but we also hire local vendors for catering, DJ. We want to support other small businesses. Our vendors are amazing. We've worked with them for years, and we're just very fortunate to have all those relationships.
Don't you feel that Old McMickey's is one of the unique venues for Tampa Bay? I mean, I would imagine there's many people that come outside of Tampa Bay, including Burt Reynolds, by the way. You got to talk about Burt Reynolds.
Sure. Burt Reynolds was a counselor here at Camp Keystone.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there's pictures, you said, of Burt Reynolds.
We have picture proof. So, yeah, but we're just, weddings and corporate events, but especially weddings, have grown to be a significant and important part of what we do out here. And we love it. The girls love doing weddings. They're dedicated to it. So it's part of what we do now.
Ralph, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being such a treasure in Tampa Bay. Speaking of 1991, the Canoe Escape also launched on that year, 30 years ago. I'm joined by Brian Faulk, who has continued the family legacy. Thank you for having us here. We're at John B. Sargent Park in Canoe Escape, and it's so beautiful. Okay, honestly, could we not ask for a nicer backdrop?
It's a beautiful place up here. We're very fortunate that we have this kind of a resource available to the public just a few miles from downtown.
So tell us, Brian, tell us about the Canoe Escape. Tell us how it started and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, we started in '91, and our family was living down in South Florida, and my dad was looking for a career change and was a really avid bird watcher. We had been using canoes as a mechanism to go out and do that activity, and we just always came back to the Hillsborough because it's such an amazing wildlife viewing river.
And here with your escapes, it can be through canoe and kayak, right?
Correct. We offer solo kayaks, tandem kayaks, and canoes.
And it's quite an experience. Talk to me about the length of the river, the length of the tours, and people have options.
So the river runs 54 miles from its headwaters up in the Green Swamp all the way down to downtown Tampa, where it comes out into the bay right next to Tampa General and Harbor Island. We operate in a middle section of the river, and we operate on about 15 miles of it. The upper 30 is really a large series of public and privately owned tracts that are treated like preserves, which is important because of the drinking water that comes for the city of Tampa down the river. This is the pipeline for the primary source of water for our community.
You said it was 70% actually,
70%,
right?
correct.
Wow, that's amazing. So, but when people come and they want to take part, they can go on for several hours, right? Isn't it like between a 2 to 6 hour experience? And how many miles do you cover?
So 15 miles of the river we paddle on. We have different segments, 4.5, 9, or 15 miles are the trip options that range from 2 to 6 hours. If you don't have that kind of time, we do also offer hourly rentals where people paddle out and come back to us if they're just looking to just go for a short 1 hour kind of sample, or if they're going to go out and fish and they don't want to cover the distance down the river. Our hourly rentals are very popular for that.
And do you feel that this is a great activity for people of all ages?
Absolutely. My daughter, I believe, is the youngest. She was here when she was 10 days old.
Oh my gosh, 10 days?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? That's so cute.
Yeah, and then we have a former staffer who had his grandmother out paddling on the river. She was 104. So we can pretty much cover the gamut.
Oh, that is great. Yeah. So for people who want to try this, you know, we're exploring all sorts of places, right, in the Bay. Right. What makes this so unique for the state of Florida?
I think what makes the Hillsborough so unique is the diversity of the river itself. A lot of people in our community are familiar with downtown, and it's a very nice section of the river, but the upper part in the preserve, this is the best wildlife viewing waterway in the state. It is exceptional. You will see different types of wildlife throughout the year. In the spring and the summertime, that's obviously the big time for the birds, or for all the alligators and turtles and those guys. And then in the fall through the winter months, the wading birds come in by the tens of thousands starting in October, and then they stay usually through mid-April before they start their migration. So it's seasonally, it changes on the river with water levels and temperature, but hands down all year, this is one of the best wildlife viewing places you'll ever go.
So Brian, we have to talk about the alligators, because a lot of times, you know, people will say, oh my gosh, they make me so nervous. And there is a sign that says,
warning alligators.
Warning alligators.
Right.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that.
So it's very common for people to come in and have concerns about alligators. I mean, they are the star of the show here. I mean, that's what everybody comes to Florida to see. But, we have a lot of times where people come in and they have a lot of misconceptions about alligators. And the truth of the matter is that when you're on a canoe or you're on a kayak, you're just part of that vessel, that boat, or it's bigger than they are. They really are thinking the same thing you're thinking, which is, oh my gosh, I hope that thing stays away from me. They don't look at you like cheese on a cracker, all right? They don't look at you that way when you're in a canoe or a kayak. But alligators by nature are pretty afraid of humans. We're actually their largest predator. So if they have a good spot, they stay where they are. And if you get closer than they're comfortable with, then they get down in the water so they can hide from you.
So what should people do though? Like leave them alone? I mean, you don't go up and try to prod an alligator, do
No. You just want to be respectful of them like all wildlife. You want to just make sure that you're not feeding them. That's a big no-no. You don't want to, harass them, especially when there's, babies in the spring, the hatchlings. You don't want to mess with the nest. You don't want to mess with the hatchlings. And you just want to give them a respectful distance. But that's the same with any wildlife that you encounter, right?
Should you be afraid or nervous?
Being nervous is normal, but should you? No. Gators and those kind of things are very unfamiliar, so we get more concerned about it, but by a massive statistical margin, the driving here is the most dangerous thing you'll do.
Brian, I love that you brought that point up. I mean, it's so true, right? But we are so used to driving. All right, speaking of things, so tell us something about the Canoe Escape that maybe we may not know, like a hidden gem, a hidden fact, a fun fact, some trivia.
One of the things that people don't know about us is that, aside from being tourism oriented and promoting it, we're very conservation oriented here. And we've in-house for 30 years cleaned, cleared, and maintained the 15 miles of the river that we work on. And we've worked over the years extensively to try and help increase and improve protections and designations for the watershed to help make sure that it doesn't get encroachments for roadways, communities, and other things up here in the preserved area. And that's a very, very important role to us because, being, as we said earlier, the water supply for the city comes down this river, we have to conserve it and protect it. That has to be priority one. And if we don't do that, everything else we do here is, going to go away. So that's our biggest, I think, in-house thing that a lot of people don't know that we do because we don't promote or generally talk about that, but it's just a natural extension of our operation.
Well, I have to say it also says so much though, because this coming month of August, you're celebrating 30 years and you are following your family's legacy. Why is it so important to you to continue this on?
Well, for us, we've always been involved in my father's background in the tourism and hospitality industry, and this is just kind of an extension of that. And it gave us a kind of a family passion of, people, but also the outdoors and a way to put that together and just allow people that are not only locals, but visiting and traveling from all over the world to come here and just get to experience this amazing resource. It is something really special that, people they'll talk and tell stories about what they saw here for years.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being a Tampa Bay treasure. Brian Faulk of the Canoe Escape, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for coming out.
So Santiago, such fun outdoor adventures, right?
Florida's most diverse destination, most dynamic destination. Everyone knows some of the usual attractions, the aquarium, the zoo, Busch Gardens, but we have so many different things, from roller coasters to sports teams to canoeing to old farm experiences. I mean, there's something for everyone here. The great outdoors, you can go from a great downtown in an urban setting to the great outdoors. So there's just so many things to do here. And you've kind of shown some of those things that are kind of out there that maybe most people aren't real familiar with.
So Santiago, speaking of that, does that make it then really easy to market our wonderful city here in Tampa?
We have so many target audiences we can message to, from, couples to families to adventure seekers to foodies. I mean, we can message all those interests because we have so much to offer. There's something to be said about Florida's most great things in one place. Well, that's really how we market, and that's really exciting because let's say there's a pandemic and we don't have adventure seekers, but maybe we do have families that are ready to travel or vice versa. We can really message to them because, again, we have so many cool things to share.
Well, you know what I learned with this episode, especially in all of them that we've done so far, we target all ages, which is great.
Right.
I mean, when we were talking, to Calvin with zip lining, he said he had a 96-year-old guy coming and enjoying the zip line.
That's right. And again, we are headed into summer. We have our biggest campaign we're launching, multifaceted, multi-level, really hitting some of those big markets like Boston and New York City and Miami and Philadelphia, out in the West, in Florida, Miami, Orlando, Fort Myers, really going big in the summer because we want to keep that record-setting momentum going. And again, we're speaking to all of those groups that are ready to travel, ready to enjoy a safe destination, our biggest campaign ever. And then we're hitting multicultural pockets like in Miami and Atlanta with really focused marketing that will appeal to multicultural groups that are ready to come and visit with us. So again, our biggest campaign going into the summer, hitting all the markets at the same time. First time for us because we want to keep that record-setting momentum going that we've experienced over the last so many months.
Santiago, so talk to me a bit about that. I mean, why, clearly history making, right? But why this campaign right now specifically?
Well, you're starting to see still some issues with travel around the country. And we want to make sure that we ride that momentum of a Stanley Cup win, of a Super Bowl, of WrestleMania, of conventions coming to town, and quite honestly, record-setting visitation that's gone on already for April, May, June, and July already looks like a record breaker. So we want to keep that momentum. We want to keep that record-setting pace. And you know what? We added 2,000 hotel rooms during the pandemic.
Wow.
We need to fill those 2,000 rooms. So it only makes sense that, you continue to hit while things are hot, and it doesn't look like there's any letting up. And again, Florida's most dynamic destination. We have something to offer for everyone, and we know they'll come here, they'll be safe, they'll enjoy their time with us. And you know what? Carry it from summer right into fall and right into winter. So doing really, really well right now and hoping to keep that speed going.
Well, man, I mean, just winning the Stanley Cup, and the summer's not even halfway over.
It doesn't hurt, right? That you've won the Stanley Cup, that the Rays are right there. Looks
so
like they're going to get right into the World Series again. And then, all the energy around the Bucks and repeating as Super Bowl champs with the entire team returning. So really, really carrying on with that winning momentum. Let's not slow down. Let's keep it going.
He's awesome, and we are continuing to unlock Tampa Bay. I mean, this is only, episode 5, but thank you so much, everyone. I'm your host, Serena Fazana, and of course, the CEO and president of Visit Tampa Bay, Santiago Carrata. To learn more about Visit Tampa Bay and the adventures that await you, visit www.visittampabay.com or follow @Visit Tampa Bay on social media.